Hi everybody, welcome to the Paranormal Connection. I'm your host, Danna Wilberg. Tonight we are so pleased to have past life regressionist Linda Potter with us, and we're going to be doing a two-part series. In the first part, Linda's going to be talking about past life regressions and meditation, and in part two we're going to be talking about alien abduction. So let's get started. Hi Linda, how are you doing?
I'm fabulous. Thank you, Donna, for having me.
It's good to have you here. Well, let's get started with the past life regression portion of the show. Why don't you talk about your credentials, your background, how you got started in doing past life regressions?
Sure. I started with past life regressions out of a sheer wanting to understand how the process worked. I saw someone regressed for an emotional issue, and I was so astounded at the healing I saw take place before me that I had to know how that worked. Mm-hmm. That was back in 1980 something, and Sylvia Browne was doing the regression on a woman in a kind of a group setting. Unbeknownst to me, I would witness that, and I wanted to understand two things. Number one, how does hypnosis work? Because everything about hypnosis that I heard was this woo-woo factor. Mm-hmm. The second part was, can someone really get an emotional healing by this 30-minute thing I just saw? That kick-started me into learning about hypnosis and then past life regression. And the more I did it, the more I saw the healing that would take place, not only emotionally, but physically as well. Because mm-hmm. we know that the emotions are immediately tied to our physicality. And I saw that client after client.
So when your clients come to you, are they coming with specific issues, or are they just curious about where they've been, who they've been,
yes,
things like that?
To all the above.
To all the, okay.
Usually people will come with a particular issue. Could be having no self-esteem in this life, something like that. Mm-hmm. It can be claustrophobia. It can be physical issues such as reflux, mm-hmm. migraines, phantom pain that the doctors can't find, neuropathy. It varies. Each person, and I've done thousands of people, I've seen mm-hmm. thousands of people in the regression room. Nobody has had the exact same situation. Everybody is so unique and so different. But yes, they usually come for a particular issue, and they don't realize how many other aspects of themselves they can go after and heal.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting too, and it's not just a matter of, was I Cleopatra in another life? Mm-hmm. It's a matter of, what kind of experiences did I have, and what did I bring with me?
Yep.
Each lifetime. So yep. Do you sort of go and tear everything apart and regroup? How do you take the session further? How do you go through the steps of healing with the sessions?
The process of it is so wonderful in that every person coming in, the first thing they're going to experience is a deep relaxation. Mm-hmm. And the most important aspect of past life regression for people, when they say, really, what is it? You're in a relaxed state of peak awareness. Mm-hmm. You can get up and move, and you can leave if you want. You can use the restroom if you want and come back, and we can pick right back up again. You're in a very conscious state. But what we're doing is we're opening up the subconscious, mm-hmm. which is the storehouse for your soul's entire history. And anything we want to go after is just waiting for you, the client, let's mm-hmm. say, to go get it. So they get a deep body relaxation, which takes just a few minutes. And then I start posing questions like a guided imagery, like meditation. Mm-hmm. Simple guided imagery. It might be an ocean beach, it might be a mountaintop, to get them relaxed and focused. And then I pose a question which opens them up to that beautiful door of information. They'll get the information, let's say it's a migraine. Let's say that they took a kick from a horse when they were a blacksmith in 1800, and the emotion that they felt at the time they were this blacksmith was anger. And they were angry, the horse kicked him in the head, and they had vertigo and bad headaches the rest of that lifetime. And in this lifetime, they didn't have a problem with migraines until they had a bout with deep anger. And the body says, the soul says, I remember right after that anger, you took on, I took on the physical manifestation of a migraine. And that's where for a lot of people they don't understand. Why do I have a fear of bridges today when 2 weeks ago it wasn't there? With the migraines, physical issues as well. But that's the juncture that the healing takes place when they go back and they see what happened or know what happened. The conscious mind for the first time gets a glimpse of that. And the body says, oh, that was then and this is now. I don't have to have that any longer. And it's as simple as letting it go.
That's interesting. Now, and I suspect when somebody reaches a certain age, if they had an incident at a certain age in another lifetime, that'll also kickstart some of those emotions and the memories that go along with that too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oftentimes it can be an emotion that triggers it in. It can be the age that you are. It can be something as simple as something that somebody says to you. If you were falsely accused in a past life and then thrown to your death in that life, in your current life, if you were falsely accused, you may have a fear of falling off a bridge or having a hard time getting to work because of that accusation. I mean, that's an emotional component to it, but it's always a trigger. But sometimes you bring it into this lifetime like a little red wagon with issues loaded on it, and it shows itself even as a child. And don't we all know people that as a child have depression? They seem morose even as a toddler or 5-year-old or 6-year-old. They have this kind of cloud over them. And that's something that you've carried into this lifetime.
Now, when you're in this relaxed state, how do you differentiate between what's the imagination and what's a memory?
I always leave that up to the person having the session to make that determination. Brian Weiss, the man who blazed the trail for those of us doing this work, he is a psychiatrist. He's retired now, but many, many years ago, he had an interview with 2020, and the journalist asked him, but Dr. Weiss, how do you know, as a psychiatrist now doing past life regressions, that what your patient is getting is real, or if it's made up? And Dr. Weiss so aptly stated, it doesn't matter as long as it heals.
Interesting.
Now, does Dr. Weiss believe that those patients are visiting past lives? I would wager a bet that he does. But it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
So it really is about the healing. It's like if someone goes into a past life, and you had mentioned Cleopatra earlier, we were chatting, and if they believe that they were Cleopatra, they might have been, but chances are they could have been someone, a servant in the household. And they so closely identify with Cleopatra that they cling on to that in some way. It's not important. What's important is what happened back there to create the current life issue. That's what's important.
Now, before we got going, we were discussing the prodigies.
Yes.
And how, you know, Cleopatra's a good example. You know, who wouldn't want to have been Cleopatra? But how many people could have been Cleopatra?
Right.
You know.
Right.
But the prodigies, you have David Garrett, we use as an example. He played Paganini in a movie. He also is a world-renowned violinist who started at the age of 4.
Yes.
He just picked it up and was a natural.
Yes.
So when it came time to play the part of Paganini, he just slipped right into it like
he was Paganini.
Exactly.
And who knows, right? Who
That's
knows?
true. That's true. And there's a lot of those child prodigies that have this gift that's, it comes from somewhere. It's just too big.
Yes, and isn't it interesting that we as a society for all these years would ever have a problem with past lives, the fact that reincarnation does exist because of this type of scenario. And there are so many proteges for many different baseball. You can have violinists, pianists, and you can go on YouTube and just type that in and you'll have a plethora to choose from. It exists, it's going on, and that raw talent at the age of 2, 3, 4 years old, that you look at this child and the music that they're playing, and it's so incredibly expert, and the limberness it takes of the fingers to either play violin or the keyboard, where does that come from?
Yeah.
You know, it could be cell memory from ancestry, or it could be morphic resonance, the soul remembering what it once did before. It's pretty interesting.
There was a story not too long ago about a child who knew everything about a World War II plane. He had been a pilot in a previous life.
Yes.
He recounted where the parts of the instruments were, the engine. He knew what the soldiers looked like. There were so many aspects that substantiated past lives.
Yes.
That I was really happy to see that it was brought out into the open, and people are starting to give more credence to the fact that, you know, this is going on, and, you know, if we stop to recognize it, there is a lot of healing that can be done with it.
Oh, tremendous, because imagine when a child comes in with this knowledge, which we have when we're 2, 3, 4 years old, 5 years old. This information is readily available to us, and I've heard it said by children before that they know that they lived before. They knew that their parents weren't their parents. They had different parents, but we don't think to listen to what the children say. But they know. We knew as children.
Yeah.
But usually a belief system that we're raised in stifles that. It's not given credence, and that shuts down our most spiritual part of ourselves.
I imagine you can tell in their play.
Yep.
Who they were. You know, that kind of comes out.
Yes, and the wonderful thing is you can take a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, and you can do something that parents don't like to do at home because it's so messy, like finger painting, something the child can get completely lost in and start a conversation. And in the process of them enjoying this movement, they will be able to tell you many things about their past lives. And they're not focused on you, so they're not thinking about that. They're focused on what they're doing, and they open up to all of that information. It's wonderful to do that.
That'll be a good idea. So, the people that come to you, what kind of resolve are they getting?
Oh my gosh, everything, all physical, emotional. People say, what is the track record for healing? And I say it's a very high percentage. I don't track everybody of the thousands of people I've seen, but the healing is most often in front of your eyes from the information that they've gotten. Within a 6-month period, you know the type of healing you get. So if it's migraines, you're going to know if you get migraines, depending if you get them every month, every week, every couple of months, you'll know. I track particular people and check in with them at some point in time, usually a 6-month window. If their issues are so profound and they have many, then I like to track that. You can get healing from neuropathy immediately. You can get, migraines can be immediate, claustrophobia immediate, or gradual over a few days, over a few weeks. So
that's very impressive.
That's really
impressive.
That's
a good track record.
Yeah, oh, it's great, and the track record belongs to the people that are brave enough to have this session. The desire, the soul desire to want to heal themselves, that's where that belongs. Yeah.
How about yourself?
What about myself?
How many lifetimes are you aware of?
Well, you figure I've been doing this work since the 80s, officially in the 90s, numerous lifetimes that I visited, because it's in the healing, right? You want to go back and find out, why do I have the love for horses, let's say, or why do I have a problem with this particular aspect in my life? So you are wanting to go back and get that. So yeah, I found out a few things I know why I'm pulled to certain cultures. I have a love for the Celtic, so deep that, you know, how it is you want to put on a certain kind of music to lift your spirits. And everybody's different. Some people it's country western, some people it's classical. For me it's bagpipes. Why is that? I don't have that in my background. But it's because those lifetimes were so fabulous for me. That music is my touchstone to goodness, and it just pulls me right up and out of everything. So
That's great.
I know, it's awesome.
Well, I've had past life regressions myself, and they've always been a little different, each one of them.
Yep.
And boy, what you get out of them is amazing.
It is, and each past life regression is different, because you can have a past life regression where you're very visual. You can have another one where you're not very visual. There's a sense of knowing with the information, and then some past life regressions are a little bit of both.
Yeah. I think that's key, what you just said. There's a sense of knowing.
Yep.
When you say it, you feel it, and sometimes it's like pulling it out of thin air. But imagine when you're in that relaxed state, you know, you're opening the doors and everything's kind of
and it takes a lot of trust, because in this lifetime seeing is believing. So if you see a chair sitting there, then well, I see a chair, so I know it's there. But if you get an idea that there is a chair sitting there, you start to analyze. And people that are very analytical have to be told ahead of time what to expect so that they don't kick that information out, because therein lies the information they're going after.
Yeah. That's a really good example.
Yeah.
So how far back do you think a person can go?
Well, you can go back as far as your desire to get a healing. So if you had a fear of moths, they sent you into panic mode, which is a rare type of phobia, and you get relaxed, which was a case that I had before, and a woman went back to caveman times, and she heard the tiger coming, was running for her life, and saw the light and ran into the light and ended up falling, and the moths by her face is the last memory she had.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and so I didn't expect her to go back to caveman times, but indeed she did, because that's where the healing was. So wherever the healing needs, whatever you're going after, it will take you to the origin of the issue.
Okay, that makes sense.
Wherever the origin is. It might have been in more recent times. So a lot of people that have had issues about losing their children, they're so afraid they can't let their child excuse me, go out into the street or near the street, or even in their house. They have an OCD issue with locking windows, locking doors. Those cases oftentimes were Holocaust, where their house was stormed, their children were taken. And they have this horrible feeling that that could happen again. So it really depends.
Okay, you brought up something that poses a question too. What about relationships with other people? Do you feel that the past lives that you kind of venture into have to do with the way you either treat people or are treated by people in this lifetime?
Yes, indeed. If you have had a past relationship, let's say where you married someone and you didn't really care about them so much, you married for money, let's just say.
Okay.
And there's no judgment on that. It was that life's experience.
Right.
You married for money, and you had tremendous affairs. You had a wonderful time, and you died that life pretty happy, where your spouse in that lifetime knew what was going on, knew that you just married them for money, but they loved you anyway, and they stayed with you, and you both died in that lifetime of very old age. This lifetime, you might come in with the reverse experience. You're the one who may have the money or may be comfortable financially in a lifetime, but every spouse you keep picking or significant other is a cheater. And you're like, what the heck? I'm not that way. Well, not in this life.
Yeah.
And it's important. That's what karma is like a dirty word, but it's very important, because now your soul is understanding what it feels like to be on the receiving end of what you put out. It's not a bad thing. It doesn't feel great in the moment, but it's important on a soul level. So you have to back up. Why am I living this life at all? And what are these negative experiences about? Well, those negative experiences are important to you on a soul level, because what it brings to the table is emotional knowledge. to where you know that, it didn't feel so great. I don't think I want to do that again.
Yeah. You're getting the full experience.
Yes. Well-rounded experience.
Yes.
Yes. Very, very important.
What about meditation? Meditation is very helpful when it comes to doing past lives. Should you get into a meditative mode before you have one done, or does it make a difference?
It doesn't matter. You don't need to do that. Meditation and hypnosis with past life regression are very close cousins. It's basically relaxing the body. And anytime you do that, you're unplugging from stress, which is really important. If you meditate a lot, you'll find it very easy to do a past life regression, for sure, but it's not necessary. Okay. And meditation you can, on your own, can help you to relieve stress, can help you to gain balance, to have clarity throughout your day. And if you're angry and you take even 1 minute, you count from 10 to 1 and take a deep breath, you already are signifying to your mind to slow down.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, we've got just a few minutes left in the show, believe it or not. How about giving your information? Where can people get in touch with you?
Oh, that's easy. All they have to do is Google lindapotter.net. That'll pull you up to my website. All my information is on there, and it's all there to see.
Okay. So do you do phone regressions as well, or just?
I don't.
Okay.
People have asked if I Skype, and I don't Skype sessions. I'd like to be there with somebody. But it's easy to facilitate sessions. I can go there, they can come to me. It just depends where they live and how we make that arrangement.
Okay. So in the few minutes we have left, how about resources? Are there any resources out there people can read about past lives, or anything you suggest?
Yeah, my go-to is Brian Weiss's Many Lives, Many Masters. That is a great book, because for people who are a little scientific and have a problem with this, go read it from a scientific mind, which is Brian Weiss. He's a psychiatrist, clinically educated, and he has come to the understanding many years ago that this is a real thing. It really does exist, and it's about his journey of how he became not convinced, but he couldn't refuse the idea of how this exists. And actually, that book is such a tremendously fast read because it's quite compelling, the story that he weaves, and it's my go-to for that.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting close to the end, but I do want to, let everybody know, Linda and I are going to be talking about alien abductions, and for those of you out there that are interested in that or may have an experience, stay tuned for part 2 of this program, because it's going to get a little deep.
Different.
Right? Yeah, a little different.
Out of the box for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But for those in the box, yeah, it's good information.
Good. Okay, so is there anything else you want to share before we wrap up the show?
I think as far as past life regression goes, be open to the idea of reincarnation if this is brand new to you. Don't let any philosophy or belief system that you've come into this life with flavor what feels right in here, because the truth always lies within ourselves. Trust yourself.
Okay, that's really good. Well, let's give a little bit of information about the Paranormal Connection, shall we?
The Paranormal Connection airs the first and third Thursday at 9:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Our companion show, Story Connection, airs the second and fourth Thursdays of each month. Each episode repeats the following Friday at 1:30 p.m. and Saturday at 5:30 a.m. Watch these programs online at the same air times by going to accesssacramento.org and clicking Watch 17. In the Sacramento region, you can see us on Comcast Channel 17 and on AT&T Channel 99. You can find previously aired shows on the Paranormal Connection YouTube channel. For information on upcoming shows and previous Paranormal Connection guests, go to paranormalconnectiontv.blogspot.com. You can contact us at paranormalconnectiontv@gmail.com. And don't forget, find us on Facebook, become a friend, and become a fan.
Well, it's always a pleasure having you on the show and talking to you about these things. And like you said, you've done thousands of them, so you're really the go-to girl for information on this topic as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it if it didn't heal.
Yeah. Well, I personally can attest to, you know, what it can do for you. It's really interesting. Plus, it gives you an idea of who you are in this lifetime. You know, why you have these, you know, these interests, and why you're so drawn to certain things is because you resonate. You have this memory.
Yes.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a good thing.
Yes, it is.
All right. Well, I want to thank my wonderful crew for coming out and volunteering their time. Lisa and Greg, and Ted and Laura and Laureen. I appreciate them, and couldn't do this without them. So, everybody, be grateful for these people that, you know, come and do this for us, because it's a good thing, right?
We're all in this soup together.
We are in the soup together. Okay, well, everybody, thank you so much for watching The Paranormal Connection, and stay tuned for part 2 with Linda Potter.